What's up, my channel? As you can see, I'm in a new location. Right now I'm currently in the process of putting my desk back, so it is not up and running just yet. So I'm here in front of my bookshelf. I hope you enjoy my Halloween decorations because today I'm going to be doing the Halloween Paranormal Writing Tag. I will link to the original video down below and I will reveal my tags at the end, so stay tuned. I have my computer, so I apologize for the glare. First category, vampires. What book does your favorite vampire live? So my favorite vampire of all time is, I'm kind of basic for this. My favorite vampire of all time is Dracula. The reason why, I'm gonna be perfectly honest, my only other frame of reference here was Twilight, but I read the book Dracula and I just, you wanna talk about a well-crafted horror book? Look no further than Dracula. And what's really interesting is it wasn't even fully appreciated when it first came out. It actually did not gain any popularity, the original Dracula, until the 1950s when they made a movie based off of the book. But reading the book, it was so interesting because Dracula, the character, is just so embedded in pop culture. So I already knew who he was. It was kind of like that with Frankenstein as well, where yeah, I already know who these characters are, but I don't know where they came from, and they're so immersed and popular in pop culture that I didn't really know much about them beforehand. So then getting to read the original source material was just really fascinating because it's just so well done. So I highly recommend it. So Dracula is my favorite vampire. Which one of your characters are the most bloodthirsty? So I'm gonna go with my current project, which is my retelling of Frankenstein. My main character is Kayla. I'd probably say she's the most bloodthirsty out of all the characters. I mean, she's kind of she kind of gets the ball rolling with regards to violence. In the opening scene, she was sent to the principal's office. So she's very impulsive and she has some violent tendencies. And so, yeah, she's definitely the most bloodthirsty. If she was a vampire, I don't think anyone would be surprised. If you were bitten by a vampire, who would it be and why? So, it's not just the lighting that's making me look extra pale. I actually am just extremely pale. So if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't know if the vampires would realize I'm not one of them, especially if I wore this lipstick, because I'm already crazy pale with weird sleeping patterns. And so they probably would think that I'm one of them. And I also use a lot of garlic in my cooking. So if they did not think I was one of them, I would probably just stay away from the stank. There's that. I guess if I was bitten by a vampire, I probably wouldn't see it coming. It'd probably be like Dracula. It'd probably be like Love at First Bite, where I just didn't see it coming. So, next category is witches. If you had a magical power, what would it be and why? Probably my dazzling wit and sense of humor. No, actually, I feel like one of the things about being a witch is that you never really know what your powers are gonna be. So, I don't know. I'd probably just have your, run-of-the-mill, witch powers where I can just cast spells and stuff like that. That sounds about right? Yeah, so, I don't really know. I know the powers I want to have. I want to be able to, turn invisible or fly and stuff, the cool things. Out of all your characters, who is the witch, the Wicked Witch of the West? So, I'm writing a fantasy novel, so I could literally jump to that project and tell you which ones are the witches, but that's no fun, and I already started talking about my current project, so that's what I'm going to talk about. My current project is if you missed it before, the retelling of Frankenstein. And so, I'd say the witch is probably Kayla again. She's I love Kayla, she's very dear to my heart, but she's also kind of a huge B word. So she's bloodthirsty and she's also kind of mean, but I love her. They're my babies. I feel bad saying that, but it's true. She's kind of, she's not a very nice person. Out of all the witches in literature, who would you want to be? Ooh, this is a tough one in literature. So not, because I mean, if I could do TV shows, I'd totally do like Sabrina, like the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, because that is like the perfect like creepy but not like horror aesthetic. But let's see, in literature, am I basic if I say Hermione Granger? I'm totally basic if I say Hermione. I'd probably say Morgan Le Fay. I think from the King Arthur legends, because I mean, she's all about revenge, and like I'm petty enough to be Morgan Le Fay. Yeah, I could see that happening. Next category, werewolves. A werewolf goes through many changes during a month. Which one of your characters goes through the most changes? Probably say Kayla and her dad, because the story is partially about her and her dad just coming to understand each other better, because there's a whole miscommunication that kind of starts the conflict between them off, where he loves talking about his feelings, but he's just not very good at it, and she doesn't like talking about her feelings, and she's also not very good at it. So, yeah, I'd say Kayla and her dad probably go through the most changes out of everybody in the book, because they have to come to understand each other so that way they can actually like stop bad things from happening. I'm trying really hard not to spoil my book, but I also want to make it like not awkward, like clear why. Okay, anyway. Which type of werewolf are you, beta or alpha? Are you a plotter or a pantser? So I've said this, I literally just said this. I am a pantser. I fancy myself an alpha, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? Anyway, I'm a pantser through and through, because I find discovering what I'm writing as I write it is the most fun way for me to write. And I also find, I think Shaylin Wrights mentioned this in one of her videos about changing her writing process, where she talks about how for her, she had to outline because she needed to understand story structure, which is also what I had to do, and I recommend everybody do it as well. But the fun part for me about writing is figuring things out as I go along, and it's just, I can also like kind of like, I think Shaylin says this, like you can kind of weave together, have a much more complicated scene happening when you're pantsing versus when you're outlining, at least for me. And that's kind of how I knew I was a pantser, because when I was outlining, I was writing these really basic and kind of bland scenes that were just like, and then this happened and I moved the plot forward, and that's like not good writing, and it was really frustrating for me. So speaking of changes, how has your writing changed over your writing journey? I mean, I took a hiatus for like 4 years when I was in college, so I definitely say that like that's been changing. I got really used to academic writing as opposed to fiction writing or just like for fun writing. So, I mean, that's like, do with that what you will. I'd say my writing has definitely changed as I've like it's annoying because it's like one of those things where you just get better the more you do it. Like you can prep as much as you want, but like you don't really understand how to write a book until you write a book, or you don't really understand how to write the story until you actually sit down and write it. And then when you go back to revise, that's when you learn a lot about yourself. So I definitely say that my writing has definitely gotten more clear. I think I'm much better at communicating setting and character traits to the audience. I've been able to tone down my dialogue a little bit, because when I was first started writing, it was a lot of quippiness and back and forth, which would have made for a really good like screenplay. But for a novel, it's like, okay, can you tell me how they look? What does their face look like? I also think that recently I became a beta reader, and that's something I'll talk about at another time, but I recently became a beta reader through the Young Writers Initiative, which I will link to down below, and that's definitely helped me figure out how to become a better writer just by the process of like reading someone else's writing and getting back into the headspace of a reader, like someone who's reading to critique or reading to give feedback. And that's something that I've definitely noticed has made my writing better. I've always been pretty good with like communicating the characters' like inner thoughts and feelings, and I've definitely been mostly good about having tone, nailing tone and voice. But I think I'm definitely getting better at establishing like the visuals, like what a room looks like. I think it's called like white room syndrome. I'm definitely getting better at not having white room syndrome. So that's definitely where I'd say I've grown the most. Next category is ghosts. You ever killed off any of your characters? In my current project, I'm going to have to kill off, I think, at least 3. I mean, it's a Frankenstein retelling, so like, you kind of have to, as much as terrible as I feel like that sounds, like, if you're doing a Frankenstein retelling, or you're doing a retelling of anything that's like not Jane Austen, somebody is gonna end up dying at the end. Like, that's just kind of a fact, as much as it sucks to say that, but like, if you're doing a retelling of Frankenstein, you have to do them. In my other projects, yes, I had to kill off one of my favorite characters, but it was something that I planned from the start, and it was actually how I originally started my novel, was I just killed this person off, and then my original plan was horrible. And by horrible, I mean like very effective. But anyway, so my original plan for project that I'm currently editing and revising was to start it off with this character dying, and at first the reader is just like, okay, like, why do I care? And then as it went on, just have everyone talk about how great this character was, so that you just kind of feel like, oh my god, why did he have to die? And then I decided to not do that because I am not Satan. To do that because it didn't really work with the story that I was actually trying to tell, because it was going to be like kind of a flash forward from the first chapter, and that didn't really work well for me. It was causing more problems than it was solving, so then I ended up having to change it. But to answer the question, yes, I have killed off characters. Sometimes it's just what you gotta do. I try to limit how many people have to die, and I try to give people other types of endings, because I hate when characters get killed off, especially when they're characters that I love. But I also try not to kill off characters like willy-nilly, like just off them for literally no reason. Because I don't like when writers just kill off characters for the sake of killing off characters, so I try not to do that. If you were a ghost, who would you haunt and why? Well, I mean, I guess the question really is, if I'm a ghost, why am I a ghost? Like, because normally ghosts hang around because they were wrongfully killed or something like that. That's a good question. I'd probably haunt whoever killed me. I mean, that's what I do. In the game Among Us, I play it with my friends, and that's what we do when we're ghosts. We just go around and we haunt the other person. We haunt the person who's the imposter who killed us. I think it would depend why I'm a ghost. I would probably just go around just kind of screwing with people. Which sounds really mean. Or I'd like write notes to my friends and be like, hi, and they'd be like, who did this? And then I'd be like, it's Colleen, I'm a ghost. That sounds like me. And then they'd probably just be like, ugh. They'd probably just be annoyed with me. It's fine, it's fine. Who in your own characters would be the bravest to spend a weekend in a haunted asylum? I mean, oh, that's a good question. Probably not Kayla. Probably her girlfriend Liza. Her girlfriend Liza would do it just because she loves Kayla, because Liza's a really good person and she's like the kind of person who would do anything for the people she loves, which is why she's a good influence on Kayla, because Kayla's a jerk. But yeah, Liza would definitely do that, especially if it was to help Kayla. She would totally do that. For this tag, I am going to tag Tamara Woods. I am also going to tag Mary Walkenfuss. I think I said her name right. I'll just link to her channel down below. All right, that's all I have for you today, everybody. I hope you have a spooktastic Halloween, and of course, happy haunting.